Boniface. Boniface Gatua. Boniface,
Thank you, Daktari. Can you all hear me?
loud and clear.
Thank you, and thank you, Kimuzi, and all the listeners. Perhaps before I pose my question to Webb, I'll have this to say. First of all, tuendelee ama tusiendelee? That is not even a question, because it is either we go forward or we are doomed. Because as far as I know, and for what we've seen in the last not just 2 years, since 1992 when Ruto came into politics, he will play into your tune, and we know he'll do that. For as long as we let him remain president, he'll apply all the diversionary tactics just to remain in power. And we need to be vigilant more than we've ever been. And secondly, I want to join engineer in saying this. So long as our political seats are loopholes for business and scot-free theft, and we let these guys go away with all manner of bad manners and corruption, we'll remain in the same hole. We'll continue saying all the good ideas we have here. We'll continue uh, bringing all these solutions, but they will not go anywhere. And the way to make this progress, we need to make these political seats unattractive as possible. The political seats from MCA to president, they must be made unattractive. People must know that when they get to these offices, they're supposed to work for the people. And one way is reducing the salaries and benefits that these people have. There's no way that an MCA should be earning more than a teacher in public schools. So long as these guys go to sittings and they get sitting allowances for doing what we elected them to do, nothing is going to change. And we need to first of all effect that. And how do we effect this? We first of all need to get the right people in these offices. And one thing I even tell most people I talk to is when you give the devil a chance, you're just becoming the serpent. Serpent. You're becoming the serpent and you're becoming his angel. These guys we are trying to negotiate and try to listen to. These are the same kleptocrats, thieves. The whole cabinet was made up of thieves. These are ICC inductees. The president himself was accused of murder and incitement. These are guys who are willing to kill just to remain in office. They are willing to kill all of us if they can. They are saying they will kill 5,000 people on the streets. These are the people we are saying we want to listen to. That's not possible. And eventually, the problem that we need to solve in this country is the problem of governance. Even in as much as we want to implement the solutions we were saying about blockchain, how sustainable are these solutions? If we don't have the right people in office, they are going to bring sabotage. For example, if you say we want to hold people accountable for the money they spend, how do we hold them accountable? How do we deal with corrupt people? We know China, for example, when you steal in China, you know you public enemy number one. You even face penalties such as death penalty, or you go to jail for the rest of your life. And the president needs to be clear. He has no capacity to tell us that he's a weak president. Why is it that when he wants to pass draconian taxes such as the housing bill, these affordable housing bill that he passed 2023, how is it that he can pass that, but he cannot pass a bill to fight corruption? He just does not have the goodwill to do what is right. And the drafters of the 2010 constitution, they recommended a parliamentary system where all power will rest in parliament. But now, since some people had individual and selfish interests, they sabotaged the whole process, and that's why we are in this hole. And I dare say this, Dr. Ombati,
You
just
have a
1 minute
minute,
as I
brother.
finish. All
You have a
right.
minute, yes.
I dare say, even right now, as many people are suggesting, even if you put Omtata there with such representatives in the office, in the parliament, we are not going anywhere. And again, the problem of neocolonialism started very early in the LegCo with such leaders such as Jomo Kenyatta, who went, we were fighting the same problems you were saying, the health, illiteracy, and poverty. And the president right now is telling us about the AI revolution and digital revolution. We've not even industrialized our country. I'm an engineer myself, unemployed. I've never been employed. Let's let's settle and know the problem with Kenya is debt. Is not debt. It's not the revenue collection. It's the bad governance that we need to deal with. And the question I wanted to ask Webb and probably engineer was, how sustainable is this system that you are saying we are going to implement if we don't have the right people in leadership? Thank you for the opportunity, and I'll continue to listen.
Thank you. Web and engineer,
Yeah.
please hold on
Yeah.
that.
Okay.
Don't respond to it. I'm bringing more questions, then you respond at once.
Okay.
Sam Chege, please come on board. Then
Yes.
we'll be followed by Jesse Watanga. Right. In that order.
And one more thing, we need ladies. Tell ladies to request the mic. We don't want to be only men.
Yes, yes.
It
I have
looks
seen Mel is
chauvinistic.
here, Wangari is here. We will
Okay,
bring more.
you'll give them.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yes. Thank you for the mic. I appreciate you. So I love how and the conversation we are talking about this morning, since 3 4 weeks ago, since the Mandamano started. I support that without leaders, our system will fail. Because I mean, computers are not meant to serve us, but we are meant to operate them in a way. So how do we get good leaders? We first look at our legislatures, the MPs, the senators. I've always been asking this question: why should we have an MP paid 800,000 shillings per month? Then he attends sessions in parliament and they get how sitting allowances. So I've always pondered the question in my head and I don't get answers. It's like saying you get a CEO of a company or a manager, you pay them quite well for that position. Then whenever they come to work, every time they get the sitting allowances for doing what you employ them to do. So we are the employers. We should seek the right channels to have these people make laws that will favor us. And how do we do that? So when the IBC is reconstituted, we will start by recalling MPs who are not serving our interest. After we recall MPs, we have people in the houses, in both houses, that are partyless. Because I don't see the need of having a president and or a government with majority in parliament. Parliament is supposed to be an independent institution, but having the majority that does the wills of the government is like having an extension of the executive in parliament. So we recall MPs, we have people, independent people in the houses, then ask them, or not ask them, tell them, because we are the bosses, we put them in power, make laws, make amendments to laws that are favoring us. These things to do with acts of parliament. In fact, acts of parliament do was not to finya sana, because you will find positions like the prime CS are not in the law, but it's an act of parliament. Things to do with the housing levy, things to do with the CDF. An MP was elected primarily in the constitution to legislate, to represent, to oversight. Our CDF is not part of their mandate. Hakuna haja akuja aseme that you elect me, I will give you bursary. If you elect me, I will ndatengeneza pale ka drainage kwa hii estate. They should not do that. That money should go to the right people including the MOE, Minister of Education, and all that. Like we channel money where we are sure that money will be used in the right manner. Senators have been doing without CDF since the 2013, 2020, 2012, and they have not, had extreme cases. Now the senators. So guys, we start with the right people in power. We recall our these guys, and we put pressure. History, a conflict of interest bill in at the Senate. We put pressure for them to amend the laws that they put ambazo finger. So I support a system where we'll be able to see just by a click of a finger the evils of certain people in government, but as well we have the right people in power that are going to put the system at play. Because otherwise we might have all the systems that we want to have, but people will come in power now watazifunga those systems, they will downplay the systems, watajua tu how to just, assume or ignore the systems. So we begin with the right people, then we go down and we see sisi wenye tuko huku chini, we are getting the benefits we deserve as a people of Kenya, as citizens of Kenya. Thank you for the time. That is my submission.
Thank you. Kimuzi, allow me clear some air. Legrand has pointed out something about me. That is me actually. If you allow, I can clear that air.
I was actually coming on your case very hard now.
Very good. Yeah, so I am the Dr. Ombati has mentioned. I was the CEC Health in Nyamira, a position I served from 2022 to 2023 when I was relieved of my duties. And the duties that I was relieved of was because of I don't know whether it was a miscommunication or whatever that was, but governor akasema kwamba nimeiba madao, and so I was relieved of my duties. So the MCAs came to him asking him how kama nimeiba madao as a CEC where I was involved. The organization with whom we order the drugs, that is Meds, wrote a letter to the governor informing him of why this happened. So this is what happened. We ordered drugs with the Meds company. They were supposed to deliver it within a period of 7 days. The governor requested the drugs to be brought in a single day. This didn't happen. And they wrote a letter citing the uprising that was happening, that period ile maandamano ilikuwa ya Raila, and it delayed the supply of the drugs. It didn't come within that period, but eventually the drugs were supplied. The governor did audit of the same, and eventually the audit that came out exonerated me or exonerated the Department of Health that drugs were lost. Number two, the letter of sacking that the governor wrote to me is not mentioning anything about drugs that were lost. The letter of sacking that was written to me is saying that I lied to him. I lied to him that the drugs were supposed to be supplied within a day, but they eventually went ahead to be supplied in 7 days. So that is where the issue was. But I don't want to discuss so much about it because I had to go to court, and my case is active in court. And he's one guy I've been calling out because I believe whatever that we were doing and whatever that I was doing as the CEC Health was putting things, whatever that I'm discussing, whoever who has worked with me will share the same sentiments. I'm one guy who's my life has been very open, and it's a period I served. Now, finally, for the drugs to be lost, there is a chain of command. Those people who have worked in the government know this. Kuna the procurement, who did the same. They procured, I don't pay as the CEC. The accounting officer, who's the chief officer, paid. The chief officer finance approved the money to be paid. So my role as the CEC was to oversee the running of the department. And that is what the MCAs kept asking the governor. Those of you who have been following what has been happening in Kenya, and especially in Nyamira, would bear me witness that there's a point the MCAs almost toppled the governor out of office. This happened because of my case. They were asking him tough questions. Why are you sacking Ombati and you are leaving the procurement officers, you are leaving the chief officers, you are leaving all these other people, the chain that is involved in the procurement or in the supply of the drug. So hakuna dawa zilipotea. There was a miscommunication. There was a delay in supply, and the letter of sacking, which of course it's a personal thing, but it's also something that can be shared. whoever who might want to know, or if people
Yeah,
may feel that
that's where I wanted you to actually share, because what we know, integrity, what
yes,
defines a man is actually integrity, respect, honesty, trust, loyalty, and empathy and responsibility. So we, because I just pick to be fair and just, I pick randomly the speakers so that I can give everyone a chance to talk. And I just pick you randomly to co-host and speak, right? We didn't because
you're
I
right.
don't
You're
judge.
right.
Yeah, you remember, I don't judge. And to be fair, I don't want, because like granted DM me, I didn't see it, and he just told me about it. And to be fair, we have 7 speakers, and we don't know about your case. For me, I haven't ever been arrested. I don't have any court case, both home and here. I've never ever, like, I don't have any questionable trait or anything. And these other people, maybe they are like that, or I don't know. So maybe they
Yeah,
can take a
I
vote.
agree with you, Kimuzi. Neither have I been arrested, but I have a case that is ongoing in court because I'm the one who took the governor to court. I'll share the letter here so that people can be aware of what is happening.
Okay, if you share the letter, it will be really okay for
I'm
to
actually sharing it. I don't know how to share it, but I'll share it to you so that you can share it to the rest of the people.
You just click the tweet, then share on the space.
Oh, okay. All
Okay,
right. So we can go ahead.
Mebs or Mebs can talk. Then Jesse has really raised his hand for a very long time.
So it was just then
Then let's
Mel
let's wait.
Sultan.
Let's give
Okay,
Jesse the space.
Jesse, then Mebs. Okay.
Okay, thank you, Kimuzi, for this opportunity. And my issues are very simple, are concerning the county government. As you might well be aware, um, we had a report that Kimani Wamatangi has denied investors opportunity to invest, and I think this cuts across the whole country, especially in my home county, that is Siaya County. We have to recognize Raila for his role in fighting for this, but they have started what they are doing right now. They want us to get off the streets, but I feel we have a very big problem, especially in Nyanza. So, our, what I'm doing towards this is I'm trying to mobilize youth, led by my president in KSL, that is Joshua Okau, that was abducted. So we want to mobilize youth, and if you are Gen Z and you're in Nairobi, because the cartels that are behind Raila Odinga and they are not working. I saw Raila Odinga Jr. in the space. So please tell them there are legislators, especially in Nyanza, that have refused to work because they are hiding behind Raila. Although we respect Raila, but we also have to see development in Nyanza. Thank you very much for that opportunity. And thank you, Kimuzi.
Thank you. Thank you. Mebs.
Hello, everyone. Thank you, Kimuzi. Can everyone hear me?
Yeah, loud and clear.
Thank you. Okay. I'll just start by saying that I agree 100% with all the sentiments that have been raised before, with especially with Web 3.0, because I, for sure, I'm a Kenyan in Germany, and I enjoy the fruits of a functioning institution. Yeah. And also, I agree that even when I, as MEBS, works in finance and controlling, there is no way I would even ever dream of applying for a job. Let's even be selected to run anything in the health sector, for instance. So at the end of the day, Ruto should not lie to us. We need that everybody who will be given this CS's position in future, and the next panel that is going to select, should be competence, integrity, and should be the key, yeah, qualifications. Otherwise, they should not take these jobs. And also, we need to kick tribalism out of this country. If those CS positions were, I don't know, 20 something, let them give them to the minority tribes. Let's see for once that somebody from, I don't know, the smallest tribe in Kenya, I don't know, I can't remember the tribes. Yeah, some of them. Let's
El Molo.
exactly El Molo people, or I think we have like Suba. I can't remember. Yeah, all that. Anyway, and anyone who is newly appointed should first ask for a public audit. Yeah, before they take the position. Otherwise, they should reject the position. If there's no audit, we don't know what they are going into. Yeah, and we don't know what rot they are going to be dealing with. So they should not even take that. Kimuzi, back to your question here. Tuendelee ama tusiendelee? Of course we're endeleeing. Tunaendelea until we want to make Ruto serve as an example to every other person who will ask for a presidential bid in Kenya to know that this position, si ya kujoke tunayo. Watu wa Kenya, my leaders are not people who you just stand up one day in a podium, say, I will do this, and then the next day say, I'll do something. You don't do it. You don't fulfill what your promises. No, this is what we don't want. Yeah, we don't want bandages on top of wounds. If something needs a surgery, we need to go and dissect it and look at the problem. Same way, I won't waste much time because Web 3.0 really stated every point that I wanted to talk about. This is where we want Kimuzi, we endelea kufinya kabisa. And I understand the speaker before me talk about the county. Once we clean on top, we are draining everything. So all these institutions will be working and then everything will be on line, straight lines. Yeah, that if tomorrow somebody else is appointed to any other position, they just come and continue the job. And then everything else will fall into place. Kimuzi, first of all, take your flowers, bro. You really make these spaces. I don't know what time you sleep, by the way. And I start to question if you're a real person because I left you here last night and I found you here this morning. So take your flowers and thank you very much for everybody who always makes their time to listen and contribute to this platform. Thank you.
I left a coast, so that's why I just woke up too.
All right, Kimuzi, I've already posted the letter. People can read it. And any other question, it can be raised. The next was there's a lady I had said will speak. Maybe she had dropped. Kenyan lady.
There is Kate okay. Kate hasn't spoken since he took the mic.
Kate, okay. So fine, Kenyan lady, once you finish, okay. Kate start, then Kenyan lady will, okay. Then Kenyan lady will come in.
Yeah, I had spoken earlier. I was talking about the tribal thing, and talking about the privatization of the company that the senators were trying to pass in the previous sitting. So I had spoken earlier. Thank you.
Thank you, Kenyan lady. Caleb, please go on. Kialo.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, please go ahead.
Wow, I started requesting for the mic yesterday at 6 jioni. At least nimeipata. So for me, I don't have much to say. A lot of things have been said, and a lot of things have been said. So personally, mi ni mtu nimegrow Kayole, place inaitwa Soweto, and I can relate to a lot of things this government has done for me. Mazee, I've suffered in this Kenya. Hii Kenya, mazee nimeteseka hii Kenya. Okay, time tulikuwa tunaishi Soweto, I can remember as a kid, nikiwa bado mtoi mdogo, hapo class 1, class 2, and you all know how Kayole is. And Kayole imewekwa in an image that msee akisikia unatoka Kayole, they perceive Kayole as some place that imebeba tu wezi, imebeba tu watu wabaya. But trust me, Kayole haina watu wabaya. Growing as a kid, I had some very traumatizing moments that unaamka asubuhi, unaenda shule, and unapata msee aliuawa jana jioni, as a kid unavuka mwili ya msee, na si ati aliuawa na wezi, ni polisi. Kayole was a place whereby as a kid alarm ya kwenda kulala ilikuwa bunduki. Nasikia tu risasi pa, unajua tu it's time to sleep. Nakumbuka saa hizo uko kwa nyumba ya mabati, the so called silver apartments. So as a kid you know that you are not safe. Hizo bullets unaweza catch stray bullet anytime. And also these cops have been my enemies ever since I was a kid, man. Wamekuwa adui wetu. Maze tumeshikwa huku. Hujafanya kitu. Bro, you're being arrested because you are poor. Tulianza kunyimwa the rights of being citizens in Kenya ever since you were kids, man. Polisi wametutesa hii Kenya. Wametutesa. And me, my greatest problem is polisi, bada. Hatu nikiwananga wakichukua hongo hapa kwa barabara. Mazi, I hate those guys. I hate them with every ounce of energy that I have. I hate those people. I hate those people. They destroyed our childhood. Unapata hata ukigrow unakuwa mkubwa, you're just traumatized. Ulianza kuona maiti ukiwa mdogo. That's why kenanga protest, man, you have nothing to lose. Walianza kutufail. It's not that hatuna akili, bro. People living here, we are smart, we are learned, man. Personally, I have a degree. Currently, I'm doing my diploma. And I can remember a time nikienda interview. Kumbuka vizuri sana, Talanta Plaza, Upper Hill, Ministry of Youth Affairs, Creative Economics and Sports. I have a degree in Recreation and Sports Management. I was going to interview for an entry-level job. Guess what happened, bro? Venye nilienda hiyo interview, shamelessly, a lady mwenye hajafanya anything related to sports comes and tell me, tukiwa hapo, that I don't know his relative mjinga mgani, yeye hakujua hata job ili announcewa. Me, I followed the due process. Nimeenda huko kutafuta job. Aniambia relative sijui mgani, alimuita, akamwambia job iko. And that lady took my job. She took my job because tulikuwa wawili. She took my job. That was my job. I was qualified for that. Man, nepotism. Nepotism is another thing. People do not get this position based on merit. That's the worst thing that we have. Me, by the way, in my life, I can never be led. Never in my life. Hata niende institution gani. Mtu danda kuniliko. Bro, heri nikae jobless. I've been jobless my entire life and I'm surviving. Saina survive vizuri sana. Though I'm not doing like a job inaniingizia do mob, but bro, I'm surviving. And then the last thing that I want to say, I've suffered. I started by saying I've suffered in this country. I've suffered in this country. And to make it worse, this regime is making it even worse. Before, at least I had a right to be a citizen. Currently, they are taking even my rights to be a citizen of Kenya. Man, kukuwa na ID, I'm being charged 1,000 shillings. Kukuwa na ID. And to make it worse, naambiwa that nita renew. So the big question is, what if I don't renew the ID? Like, sijalipa hiyo nini ya kurenew the ID. Does it mean I'm not a Kenyan anymore? Both my parents are Kenyans. And both of them come from the same tribe. And also this thing called tribalism. Maze, I hate you. My parents from kuzaliwa, since I was young, my parents have been against tribalism. Kabisa, you are speaking anything to do with Kikuyu or anything to do with Kalenjin, bro, you are out of that house. Because we know what happened in 2007. Man, tribalism is not a good thing. I know other people may be saying about tribalism, they don't know the effect of tribalism. I've suffered in this regime. ID niliapply last year, December. ID yangu ilipotea kwa gari. Man, mpaka leo, naendanga naambiwa kama after 2 weeks. Mpaka leo sijaipata ID. Naendanga kila siku, your ID ijatokea kama after 2 weeks. Until I gave up. Sasa ina survive na duplicate ID. Passport sasa imechukua I don't know one and how many years. Niliona Citizen TV kiannounce some bullshit ati sijui ID zimetolewa but watu hawajaenda kupick I don't know nini, some very cock and bull stories zenye wanaweka hapo. I went huko Nyayo house kutafuta ID. There is no ID. There is no passport, sorry. There is no passport that was there. Man, these regimes of governments from Moi era has failed us. It has failed us as young people. It has failed us. I trust that we have very bright people in Kenya. Young people, maze, sometimes in the street, nikiwakingi tu na wasee, I find a lot of young people and we discuss about the careers that they did. Some people did engineering, some people did medicine. But when you start talking with these people from a deeper perspective to ya Kenya, to matters entailing economy, matters entailing their career, you feel like, bro, this guy is smart, this guy is sharp, man. These are the guys wenye wanafaa change hii nchi. Nitaachia hapo.
Caleb, let me just
Yes.
ni Caleb ndio ameongea.
Yes.
I just want to tell Caleb, sipendangi kwa motivational speaker or anything, but I'm sure things will change. It will change na itakuja in some way. Nilikam to realize I'm not glorifying suffering or anything, but mse unapitianga such instances, then your life changes in a better trajectory. I don't know how to explain this, but ukikuja kurealize saizi watu wengi hapa, sijui watu wangapi wamelala njaa hapa. Mimi nimelala njaa mara kadhaa nikiishi Roysambu. I just want to encourage Caleb to keep moving. Asiseme I've suffered, because sometimes nilikuja kurealize ukisema hivyo inakuleta sana, so inakufunza hata usurvive in life. Nilikam kurealize saizi most people, tuseme kaa politicians saizi, kaa kina Murkomen au wenye walitolewa jana, wakienda to the jungle hawajui kusurvive. Sisi wenye tumesurvive without jobs, umefanya writing, umeenda mahali sijui kuna mahali unafaa kuandika report fulani, unaandikia mtu unasaidiwa, unapata do kiasi, umesurvive. Unaweza kaa hata siku 2 bila kudishi na unacheka. Umekaa campus, unakaa the whole morning haujakula breakfast, unalala ndio uamkie ukule lunch uende class ya after. Umeata tu class. Sisi tuna hata class juu, na hata class kupenda, una hata class juu hauna namna, una get. So vitu change. Me personally, vile umesema tribalism is a killer. Sasa kuna wars hata kaa tribalism. Eldoret, Wasingishu, Mandago akiwa governor, kulikuwa na intertribalism, like imeingia ndani. Sasa wanageuza like naweza mimi na Mnandi na Kipsigis tunaelewana, but I am a Keyo, sina Wakalenjin, wote tunaelewana, but unapata jueni Mkeyo haupei kazi. I went to an interview, vile nimesikia ki-complain, and I was actually naelewa chenye anasema. Kienda unaenda interview na mtu mwingine anapewa kazi. Nilienda interview, it's not that I was even qualified for the job. I just applied for water engineering sport and I was niliselectiwa kibahati. So vile nilienda si unajua ile umeenda hata sikuwa na simu, mtu amenitafuta hadi huko Ocha, amesema umeselectiwa huko, shortlistiwa, na mimi hata nilikuwa nimeepa Nairobi juu maisha imenitandika. So kufika huko nimeenda hata tu ile unaenda tu kujipeleka juu hata ulibahatisha. Kufika huko unapata watu wamedunga suti, watu wanakuja na sijui mtu amefanya kazi 5 years 10 years, ni civil engineer, anakuja kupigania job ya job group K water engineer, unalipwa 40k. Sijui ikikuja hiyo ni basic salary, ikikuja yote ni 60k. Watu wamekuja sijui ni, then kuna dem tu vile umesema dem fulani tu alikuja mwisho. We were actually 20 men shortlisted, 20 people shortlisted, and it was 12 men 8 ladies. I will never forget. Juu nilienda nikasema sasa hawa watu wanasema wametufanyia ni, tumeenda panel, tumegriliwa, wametugrill hadi mimi wameniuliza, nimekaa nje ya kutosoma for 3 years, tumeuliza hata maswali hata ukumbuki shule juu maisha imekutandika kwanza huko nje. So by the time unajaribu unaulizwa maswali hata uradi vitu nini endelea hapa. Then mwisho actually I took that time, nakumbuka nilikuwa kwa panel ya CCs na watu. I decided to talk about mental health na depression. Nikawambia mchungange sana watoto wenyu, msione wakilewa mudhani wanalewa kupenda, wanalewa juu hawana namna. And that time nilikuwa nashindanga cake joint, so ilikuwa every point unashinda cake joint juu hauna life. But nilikam realize the more una self victimize, unajiself sabotage, itakudrainisha down. Unaona hata ukisota ukiwa huko chini, jipe hiyo kiburi, like kuwa arrogant kiasi, utaona utapanda juu bila wewe kujua. So after some time tukakaa hapa tu tuna among those 20 interviews tulikuwa 12 men. None of the men alipata hiyo job. Trust me on this. Watu waliandika wives wao. Kumbe the wives walikuwa wamekuja watu wa county kuandikwa county. Wameandika wata engineer. Sasa what value does that person bring to the county? Like I was just flabbergasted. Hata mimi sikuwa nadai hiyo. Tuseme hiyo position singepata. Kuna msee wa Jiko hata niko sure labda hata kwa hii space ama ananisikiza. Huyu jamaa alikuja hata akanitafuta Twitter akasema tulikuwa na ile nini juu niliongelea. Akaniambia yani yeye alikuwa na kila kitu, ni civil engineer. Civil engineer unaweza kufanya water engineering vizuri. Mimi nilifanya hata different course ya water engineering but ni biosystem. Lakini sasa alikuwa amefanya civil engineering. Like anafaa hata kuwa na kona experience. Yeye aliwekwa nje. Kuna msee alikuwa na first class sijui which engineering, but aliwekwa nje, but wakachukua madem. What value do those people add to the county? So chenye nimekam realize na hii county governments, national government, they self-sabotage themselves, because unakuja kuangalia ka NIS iko na watu wa masonko wenye na wajinga. Angalia watu wangekuwa wamepea, if NIS ingekuwa fully functional, Ruto angejua kuna movement kai inatokelezea. Angalia vile walishikwa na surprise, because these people feed them lies. They don't know what they are doing. Wangepea mtu wa huko chini, tuseme saizi Caleb anatoka amesema Soweto, unajua vile vijana wanaishi Soweto, vile wanasukuma maisha, vile wanalewanga, vile wana complain about government. Tuseme ungepewa kazi ya NIS kwa grao, niko sure ungekuwa umepeleka information huko juu, ambia watu huko chini by the vijana wanasafa na watakuja huku kuwageuzia serikali. So at the end of the day, tribalism, hizi mavitu za nepotism, hizi vitu za corruption bado watu wajui, it will come to bite back to them. So Caleb, I just want to tell you, after that mimi nilienda nikauza viazi. Nilikuwa nauza viazi actually Twitter. Siku give up after nimeambiwa tulitumia tu text application not successful, or application na hizo yenye unatumianga in the future sijui nini usomangi hizo, unasomanga ya kwanza. So after that nikasema stay apply. I've never been employed in Kenya. I've never been employed in Kenya. Niliona shida hiyo time yote unatembea. So nikaanza kuuza viazi na busy kashika, like it was one of the best moments. Then nikapata hii chance, nikaichukua. So chenye naweza kakwambia tu, something better is coming. It's not like it's a guarantee, but just look at that perspective. Like sitaki kuwa motivational speaker, nataka uangalie from a realistic perspective. Na mali umefika in life, set umesafa, hiyo experience umegain kugonga maisha. Angalia mali mimi niko saizi hapa kwa wazungu. Wazungu kuna vitu mimi naonanga, kuna makazi labda hawezi fanya, mimi nacheka na smile naambia mimi huko acha nimeingia kazi ya mahindi, mashela, sijui nimelima shamba solo, imesombwa na maji, like maisha kale. By then nilikuwa nafanya kitu na nimeinvest 10,000 kwa nyanya. Nilipost kwa TL zote, mvua ikanyesha ikasomba kazi yangu ya 3 months. Nimeenda sijui wapi, nimeoshwa kazi ya writing, nimeenda hadi Keno, nimeacha Roysambu, sina hata fare. But at the end of the day nilikam realize hii vitu ina play a role in your life, that you will come back and reflect and look at that. Labda ulikuwa unapimwa for the betterment of your life in some like the better step. Unajua life ni gradual step. So don't say nimesafa, nimefanya hii gava by the way imetutesa. Hata mimi sikatai, imenitesa gava. Uhuru mimi ilinitesa kabisa, nikadhani Ruto atatusaidia, but saizi sijakaa gava ya Ruto, sijui vile iko, but watu wanazua. Hata you can read the environment, but ya Uhuru ilikuwa mimi nilisuffer. Mimi sitakudanganya, personally I suffered na watu wengi walisuffer. So I would just like to encourage you, kitu kaa ID saizi push pole pole, tunaweza kakupushia kitu kaa passport. Hata mi my brother aliapply, sijui wewe najaipata, so ni kitu ingine. Nataka tu encourage uangalie from a different perspective, the life. That's all I can say. Thank you.
Thank you, Kimuzi.
Naweza malizia kitu
Thank-
kidogo tu.
Okay.
Malizia.
Okay, the last thing, the question hapo, tuendelee ama tusiendelee? Mazee, tuendelee. And just a parting shot too, as much as nasema we have suffered and everything, that one doesn't make sense. There's always a silver lining, and the silver lining is sahi, we have us, we have each other. Najua before you are going through a lot knowing that you are alone, but we have us, and we are the change that is coming. Walikuwa wasema we are the leaders of tomorrow. No, we are the leaders now. We are the leaders now. You can make a change anywhere you are. Anywhere you are, with any gadget you have, hiyo simu, we are the change. So tunaendelea. Thank you.
Thank you so much, my brother. Kimuzi, Kimuzi, you've shared. Kenyan lady, you will speak after this. Kimuzi, you have spoken, and hiyo ndio story watu wamepitia. After, I had practiced as a medical doctor for less than 5 years, and because of my involvement na maneno ya siasa, that is how I think my governor identified me and the support I gave him. Then he elevated me to the position he gave me. I went back to the ground because I said, huyu jamaa ambaye amenisaidia na mimi nitamsaidia. So I went back to the ground and marshalling votes and, of course, talking to the people about him until, of course, the unfortunate happened. Ambayo, of course, Kimuzi, I think you've seen the letter and the rest of the members. One thing I can say, today I am in America. I came to America in December. When I thought my life was gone, I had resigned as a medical doctor, I had taken a political position, and I was sacked. My name was tarnished. Actually, my governor called me to his office and wanted me to resign. And I knew the ramification of resigning ni kwamba I will now, it will be his word against mine. I cannot be able to stand before people and tell them that really I didn't do this thing. And I had to weigh the options and let him write a resignation, a sacking letter for me. Nimesakiwa, sina pesa, I have a family and all these things. Then uh, then America happened. How it happened, there are things you cannot be able to understand and explain. So my brother who has just spoken, in this life, there are way things change. So it's about dedication, consistency, and remaining resolute to what you think is right. Like I said, my life is an open book. Whoever who is from Nyamira, who is in this space, can attest to that. And it's a way of saying, and I've been one of those people who've been calling out the government. I supported Ruto. I supported him so much. I almost lost my job at some point because of him. And here we are, the same guy we supported is not doing what he promised us that he was going to do. And I've been one of those people who've been hating him very hard. So I want to call upon all of us to remain resolute with what we have decided to do. Tumesema kaende kaende. We've been supporting the match we have, and we'll continue supporting to make sure that whatever the youth of our country want to achieve. I was given the position as a youth. I was 35 years old as at that time when I was given that position. Yes, youth can be leaders, and they can do it in a very open way to become an example to other members. Kenyan lady, please, you can come on board and speak.
Asante watu wangu. I don't know how you guys are faring today. Lakini, you know what? Let me tell you, it's just sometimes hata hujui useme nini, but there's something I want to tell the gentleman from Kayole. Okay, mimi ni mtu wa Dando. I think I've been in the same Kimunzi very many times. I think I've been on your channel. But some of you may know my story, some of you may not know. But mimi nimetoka Dandora. So first of all, I want to validate your feelings. I want to tell you what you're feeling. Feel validated. We want to acknowledge that first. And then the second thing I want to tell you is that what everybody is saying is that come out of that shell. You know, usikue victim. Kila wakati you are like, hey, nimesafa. Now start speaking positive towards that. Just know that we acknowledge that the almost 4,000 people here, we acknowledge it. We validate your feelings, but sasa ni wakati wa kutoka kwa hiyo shell. Okay, now start speaking positive to your suffering. And nakwambia, the positiveness, the positive thought, if you turn everything into the positive, nakwambia, everything will start turning around, because it's like you're preparing yourself, you're preparing your mind, you're preparing yourself for goodness, and anything that's not good cannot be accommodated with.
Is it only me or
There are a couple of things I want to talk about, and I want to start with wengi wetu tumekuwa kwa hizi channels nyingi, nimekuwa kwa Kimuzi, nimekuwa all over, and I think we started this like what, like 3 months ago.
Kenyan lady, kindly ujue nitakupea leo time kidogo. Nikaa nani atakohost ndiye alikuweka juu tunapenda kupea watu wapya.
Sorry?
Nasema juu umekuanga there are people who have never spoken, and actually I really want everyone to just share something, you get. So leo nitakupea time kiasi.
Okay, do you want me to come later after wameongea?
No, just continue, just finish your point.
Okay, so I'll be quick. So after after being in many channels, I want to highlight that wengi wetu wenye tumekuwa, especially in what is it called, Miguna's channel, or whatever. I feel like every channel has its use, but the place that I have found the most education, the place that I found the solutions that we need for our country are these other smaller channels, the ones that are not like hyped and whatnot. Kama leo hii maneno ya blockchain, those are the solutions that we want for our country. Okay, so that's the main thing I wanted to highlight, that the bigger channels, the channels that are they are what is it called, sensationalized. They are like targeting one thing, you know what I'm saying? Lakini solution oriented channels ndio hizi sasa tuna join odd hours, these ones that are going like 24/7. So I would encourage everybody to be joining those as well. Najua tunapigania sana, tunaenda kama kwa Miguna unapata ako na 120 people that are listening to him. I want to encourage everybody to also join really these offshoot channels that are not really sensationalized, and there's always a channel going on, so just keep joining them. Okay, so with that said, about there's somebody that spoke about open governance, and there's something that has been in my head the whole time, and I value that idea, and I am 100% I 100% am for it. I think it was Web 3.0. Now, can we use the same mechanism to actually have a depository? Because one thing, tunataka pesa zetu zirudi, si ndio? We really want our the money that have been looted. I am really especially keen on that. I want all this money to come back, to be returned. I want all these 200 million here, sijui how many. If you can see how much the cabinet has robbed us, your cabinet yenye imetolewa, if you aggregate every single one of them, how much money they have laundered from us, we need that money to come back. We need all that money back. So into this blockchain, is there a way that we can come up, we can hold these guys accountable, but then the way we need to hold them accountable is to make sure that we have the right documents. And I think I've suggested this before, is to have the right documents. But the problem is watu wanaogopa kuwashtaki. You see, like now the tide is changing. This is the time we need to tap on it. We start, I don't know what, like an anonymous depository of information penye tunajua sisi wote Murkomen aliiba, but how did he steal? There's somebody in that ministry mwenye tajitokeza anonymously has all the information where they can deposit that information. And then when we get all this information, we can get like the lawyers to go through it and, and approve it or whatever. If you have been with Omtata, a lot of his information has been declined in court. And the reason being that mwenye anashtaki si alimpatia, he did not obtain those documents rightfully. So how can we make those documents that will be deposited in that blockchain in a depository? How can we ensure that that is accepted by our judges? So that's the other thing that I'm wondering about, just a point to think about, because we need to recover our loot. But how do we do that? How do we do that? Because these people wata cooperate and they will ban everything and anything, to cover for themselves or to cover themselves so that tusiwajue. But then there are people still in those ministries who have those documents, who can access those documents, and they are ready to help us, like the way we are ready to help ourselves. Even in those ministries, they are young people. There's still Gen Zs, they're millennials like us working with those ministries. So that's one thing I think we should openly start speaking about, because this is where we find the solution. This is where we are crafting the solutions. So even when we are saying Ruto must go, we want to recover our money, we want to recoup back the loot. How are we going to go about it? So I really love this blockchain idea. I don't know how we need to advance it from here, but we can continue to discuss about that. So can I go to my next point? Ama unataka kunikata Kimunzi? Sitaki kuchukua muda wa mtu mwingine.
Nataka ukate juu nataka kupea Mohamed Ahmed.
Okay. It's okay. Let's hear from Mohamed.
Then Kimuzi from Mohammed, we go to BN Malemo. After BN Malemo, we go to Eunice. Eunice Maina. So Mohammed, BN Malemo, Eunice Maina.
Is it okay if I can address just one point she raised?
Oh, this is who, Web?
Yeah.
Okay, you
Mohammed.
can address, then Mohammed can take over immediately.
Yes.
Okay, so on the issue of recovering assets, I've studied the global resources on asset recovery after theft. So we've lost really a lot of money to these guys. Recovering of assets, yes, a must. But there are key components to recovering assets. First of all, a willing judiciary. Second, strong prosecution. Basically, that comes as part of the package, but also the willing political class. We must get a leader who is willing to go all out scorched on the administration since 2013. We are talking Uhuru, the entire, all through to Ruto. These are the people who have really dug us into pits of hell. So that's a must. But then, on the realistic side is that asset recovery yields less than 20% across the entire globe. The problem is one. After, let's say, Murkomen has stolen $1 billion, to launder that money, he has to pay people and lawyers who hold it in proxy, then proxy companies, shell companies from this country to this country before it comes then back to him as clean money that, he can say, oh, I did and this to generate this wealth. So that money, by the time is done cleaning, you are left with, at the best case, 70 to 80%. And at the worst case, if your costs of laundering money are high, you are left with 50%. And then there's the off case of trying to prove how you earn this well. So that's how it ends up recovering assets. It's a law of 20%, but we still need to make them feel that pain. So on that front, I would really like, if we can get investigative, not only journalists, but also there are people who are very good with investigations, who can do investigations to very high standard. There are people who are in the former government who could do very good investigations. If we can co-opt these people, their knowledge will be so useful because we have very smart Kenyans. And also we have something else I will empower everyone. This is like a Kenya Leaks equivalent where we have whistleblowers, basically a link where you can just or an email address. You can send all the documents you find around that prove corruption in your department. And then we can just be able to have those documents in the public. That's the second thing. So that when a willing administration comes along, we can go after all these people for the last 20 years, the crimes they have done. We shouldn't have sunsetting on these kinds of colossal crimes, because these are crimes that are denying people lives. People are dying not only of hunger, but of poor health, can't get access to treatment, and all these things that we can actually prove at the minimum. We can have charges of negligence against them. And since it's willing negligence, at least at the minimum, we can get some prosecution with the right administration. So it's going to be tough, but we need to get the first part in, where Ruto goes. But also the incoming administration has to have its work cut out, which is cleaning and ensuring we can deter corruption from those who have taken money before. The other one I want to address is something that was raised where the weak point is the humans. And I'm agreeing with that exactly. And that's why we cannot have a centralized system like servers in the government hands. This has to be a system that resides in the hands of all Kenyans. Anyone with a laptop, you'll be able to run the block node for the government of Kenya. So that's how the blockchain works. And so when you have more than 50,000 of these blocks and nodes being ran, basically these are the nodes being ran, more than 50,000 laptops, the way we connect and verify the government is that once a transaction happens or a decision, let's say like a judge, as a judge, he issued a warrant for arrest of one of us. That warrant goes to the blockchain, it's verified. They cannot use where they issue a warrant, there later say it was fake, it wasn't me, or later issue it and then withdraw it and say, oh, because they always do these things behind they do very shady things. The cops name and the authority, the OCS, all people were involved in that process. It will be transparent. And once it's verified by the entire chain, you cannot change that record. We track it, it's you. And so that ability to have hundreds of thousands of people and even millions on the blockchain as verifiers and nodes, that's what will take out the element of, MPs and senators and the president, cabinet secretaries, and a few people he knows, judiciary, 1,000 people. You're looking at like 1,000 elites to 2,000 at maximum who are really co-opted to steal and loot Kenya. And so when we take the power where all of a sudden need to corrupt 1 million people, and if a chunk doesn't agree, nothing happens. So we are able to take the power from them and to us. So this is really a distributed system where the government will not have any ownership. It's us, the people, once it's passed and the first basically implementation is done, the entire evolution of the ecosystem depends on the votes of the people who have the nodes. And the nodes will be with the opposition, the young people, the old, whoever you are, as long as you are Kenyan. Even in some instances, you'll find it running off servers that are, may not be necessarily, be in the public, in the government hands, but those servers, the government cannot go and wipe everything, because that means you need to wipe every laptop that is running that thing in Kenya. So that's the idea of the blockchain, where we take the power from these people and we create a system of real-time reconciliations, because data systems across the world are there already. So it's not like we are going to be inventing anything. These will just be adapting already existing things, so that we hold accountability, transparency, and honesty with these guys. Not people making orders. Ruto on one side is issuing orders to the Defense Department to do things. Can we track those orders? We can't. So in the future, you're at a point where if someone senior than you gives an order, they have to literally go on the blockchain and verify that order with you. That's the idea of open governance. This entire architecture of current government governing where things are done in the shadows in the name of quote unquote state security. Yet the state security, the threat itself, it's them who are a threat to our state. They loot so much the state cannot withstand. They loot so much, then they kill their own citizens. They loot so much, people can get cancer treatment. That's entire state threat. Our leaders are the threat to the state. That's the entire idea. And that's why we cannot allow any single individual going into the far future to be like, let's say the next one we get someone who is very upright and upstanding. But then what comes after him? Will Kenyans be forgetful, then vote in a bad person? With the blockchain, we'll be able to minimize the damage to the sense that he can make decisions we don't agree with, and then we get a hold of them before those decisions are implemented. Because you need everyone in the entire system to see how our money is used, especially money, because everything ties back to the money. Our taxes collected, and this entire pool, how much was taken out. That kind of precision accounting can only be done by the blockchain, and having a critical mass come into the system, that is what will make it redundant and unmodifiable by any single individual, even at 10,000 individuals. You'll need to convince the entirety of Kenya, like, you gotta allow me to steal this 10 billion, and then they have to approve for you to steal, which is impossible, which is the entire idea. So with that, this will be an integrated effort between citizenship education, citizenry being educated on the advantages of open governance and direct democracy, and also being taught that the enemy is not the current party alone. It's the entire structure of leadership that we have that has to be overhauled. And even though we are going to use the current structures of power to come in to implement this, it has to be modified, just like we did with the new constitution during Kibaki. Because believe me, this measure has to go to referendum. But the society has to be educated enough by the time we get there, everyone knows why it's the right thing to do and what the right thing to do is. And that's why I'm also very insistent on education and also on people who are older than us joining us. The reason they are not so angry is, if you've never noted the phenomenon of where all people are poor, they all feel satisfied because we are wallowing in poverty. But then here you have people who have cheated the system and they're accumulating tens, hundreds, and in some instances among the top 5 crooks in Kenya. You have like 3 of them stealing direct from the government. One is, money laundering. The other one is a drug dealer. And you can take a critical guess who some of these people are. And that's unwanton theft of a nation, pillaging of a nation to extremes never seen, and very few states on the planet have ever had this history. The most recent one was a state capture in South Africa by the Gupta brothers, the $100 billion scandal of the Gupta brothers. Just Google that. You crash an entire economy, you take people into poverty, cascading problems come in. And that's why we cannot trust any single person. Zuma was supposed to be a person who loves South Africa. He sold out South Africa. Julius Malema, even right now, is fighting very hard. But the problem is, does he have a clear view of the entire chessboard of what needs to happen to transform that country again into a country where honest men see the entire chessboard? And those are the questions going forward we have to ask ourselves, and then list the knowledge of those who are not within our ranks right now. And the way we do is by going out and speaking to them so that they can understand. And also part of the critical education to get people to see what we know. What we know is very different from what the older generation knows. The older generation, I've seen a lot of people along the same route of taking service. I asked them, hey, by the way, do you know what the Kenyan budget is? Some of them think it's 350 billion, some of them 700, some of them they think it's 50 billion. The figures are all over. No one has a clear information on how much the government spends in totality per year. They are not educated, they are not incentivized. As the second thing, I'll never underemphasize this problem. Go within your circles of older people. Ask them, what makes up a billion? And you'll be shocked by the number of people who cannot tell you that 1,000 million is equals a billion. And people who cannot even fathom a trillion, what a trillion is. So when we are talking about changing a nation and we need enough motivation for people to be angry against leadership, first of all, you got to understand how much has been stolen. How much is this person stealing? When Ruto comes calling himself a hustler, how much is he worth? By the time he was campaigning, he was worth over 500 billion. Right now, Ruto is running estimates of between 1 trillion to 1.4 trillion net worth. Literally stealing the country to the ground. The same as Uhuru. And they pretend that burning a 40 acre ranch goes up in an acre goes up in flames. They say 40 million in damages. What is that in the sea of trillions that they've been pillaging the nation for decades? So education is really critical. Enlighten folks who do not understand these big figures, because we keep throwing big figures around. Most people deal in their hundreds in their day. And most people do not even go past 100,000 in a month. So most people, their brains cannot process what a billion is in totality or what a trillion is. So when we say the budget, we have a wastage of 2 billion or 3 billion per day, which comes out to 700 to 1 trillion to 1.1 trillion per year. You got to understand, put yourselves in the shoes of people who are never in that space and who are older than us. You gotta really educate them to get them pissed off, to get them angry enough to join us. Because most of them may think we are just overreacting, but we are really concerned. And the concern is that the entire leadership structure is the enemy of Kenya. And so going forward, education has to be on how citizens take accountability of the government and those who are in power. That's all I have to add to that conversation.
I have a quick question for you. Kimuzi, may I? Through the host?
Yeah.
I just need to clarify something real quick.
Mm.
So sasa unatuambia eti we can only recover 20% of the loot.
Yeah, I mean we can try and recover that money, but recovery rarely goes beyond 20%. Let me give you straight up, like with the Golden Bag scandal, not much was recovered out of the 68 billion. If you are to put 20%, that means we should have recovered 13 billion. It never happened. We didn't even recover, I think, even 1 billion. And now Kamlesh has moved on. He's coming Zimbabwe and Dubai investors. If you are able to watch that documentary on Al Jazeera, that's where he went. Let's come to the Anglo-Leasing scandal, 9 billion. We should have recovered, for us to equate to 20%, we should have recovered 1.8 billion. We didn't even recover 500 million. So the recovery rates for all Kenyan scandals is less than 5%. I'm sorry. 20% is the upper limit of what we'll be able to recover. So the question is, as we strap in to be able to handle the calamity that will be handed over to us, how best do we go about recovering or salvaging whatever we'll have? Because this will be a salvage operation. Let's not fool ourselves. And the second thing is, how do we go about preventing that kind of colossal calamity that has happened to Kenya from never happening again? The thoughts must be on that. Because as soon as money has been stolen, recovering it, tracking the entire chain, especially when you don't have a trackable and immutable system like the blockchain, it's so hard that you have to rely on the honesty of the investigators, honesty of the judges, honesty of